I don't usually open the door before my morning coffee, but that day, I did. There was this knock, three steady hits, not rushed, not nervous, just confident, like whoever was behind it already knew I was up, knew I'd come. I pulled the curtain back just a bit. Two guys, dark suits, clean shoes, even though the porch was wet from last night's rain. One of them was holding something in his hand, looked like a badge. I cracked the door. "Can I help you?" The tall one spoke first. "Raymond Ellis." I nodded. He flipped open a leather wallet with three letters. FBI. My gut sank. I didn't do anything, I swear. At least nothing that would warrant federal agents on my damn porch at 7:20 in the morning. The other guy, shorter, with tired eyes, stepped forward. He didn't show a badge. Instead, he held up a photo. Tablet screen, actually. "You recognize this woman?" he asked. I looked and froze. It was her, the lady from the house on the edge of town. The one I delivered that weird box to, maybe a week ago. She had glasses, a gray sweater, hair tied back. She looked exactly the same, except now she wasn't blinking, just frozen in a still image. I didn't answer. My mouth was open, but the words stuck behind my teeth. The first guy, Agent something, I didn't catch it, narrowed his eyes just a bit. "We're going to need to ask you a few questions, Mr. Ellis." I didn't move, didn't nod, didn't speak, because in that moment, everything about that delivery came flooding back. The box. The warehouse, the way she looked at me. I knew something was off. I just didn't think it had come back like this. I used to be a long hauler, back before the back problems. Herniated disc, L4, L5, plus the usual wear and tear from sleeping in a cab half your life. Now I run local stuff. Packages, short hauls, groceries, sometimes just weird odd jobs from apps. Nothing fancy. Less wear on the spine, more wear on the nerves. That morning, I hadn't planned on doing a damn thing. I had 2 days off and was looking forward to sleeping in. Maybe fix the damn screen door finally. But when the FBI shows up at your house holding a picture of someone you vaguely recognize from a drop-off, you don't go back to sleep. You sit down, pour yourself cold coffee, and try to remember every single thing about that day. Because they didn't say she was dead. They didn't say she was missing. But they didn't have to. Agent number one, he said his name was Daniel Miller, sat across from me at the kitchen table. Agent number two, Thomas Shaw, stood by the window just watching the street, like someone was going to pull up and rescue me. They weren't aggressive, not really. They didn't wave guns or start shouting. But there was this weight, a heaviness in the room. I tried to act normal, but my hands were shaking when I held my coffee mug. Daniel Miller asked, "You remember what you delivered to her?" I cleared my throat. "A box." "What kind of box?" I shrugged. "Small, maybe shoebox sized, brown, no markings, just an address. I didn't pack it. I picked it up from a warehouse out past Route 16. "And how did you get the job?" "Dispatch Now, it's an app. You take gigs, haul stuff, like Uber for cargo." Daniel Miller looked at Thomas Shaw, then back at me. "You're sure it was through the app?" "Yeah," I said. "Well, I think so. I mean, it popped up like the others. Pay was a little higher than usual, but not crazy high." Thomas Shaw finally spoke. "Do you remember who gave it to you at the warehouse?" I paused, tried to picture him. "Hoodie, gray, didn't talk much. I figured he worked there. Honestly, I didn't think twice about it." That was the moment Daniel Miller leaned forward, rested his elbows on the table, and lowered his voice. "Mr. Ellis, that box wasn't just a delivery." He paused, looked me dead in the eye. "It was part of a federal investigation. And right now, that woman in the photo, she's gone." I blinked. "Gone as in—" Daniel Miller didn't answer. He just opened a notebook and clicked his pen. "Let's go over everything you remember about that day, start to finish." So I did. Or at least, I tried. It was raining that morning. Not hard, not yet. Just that steady Oklahoma drizzle that makes the road hum. and your wipers squeak every 30 seconds. I had my coffee in a dented thermos, music low on the radio. Tom Petty, I think. I remember because the Bluetooth in the truck had been acting up all week, and it only played the same 6 songs from a flash drive. I didn't mind. Better than political talk shows or traffic reports about roads I never take. That was the kind of morning it was. Quiet, almost boring. If you'd asked me right then what the day would bring, I'd have said, maybe 3, 4 deliveries, gas up around noon, grab a burger from that place off Highway 75 with the terrible fries and the perfect sweet tea. That's what I expected. But instead, somewhere around 9:40, I got a ping. New job, higher pay than usual, no sender listed, just a warehouse address and the drop location. I stared at the screen for a second, didn't think much of it, just tapped accept. That's how it starts, by the way. Not with a big moment, not with sirens or warnings, just a thumb on a screen. I remember the smell of the truck that day, a little like wet carpet from last week's spilled soda. My Ford F-150 is a 2006, blue with one rusted fender, smells like coffee and miles. It groans a little when I brake too hard and has a stubborn seatbelt on the driver's side that always sticks. But I love that truck. It's mine. Bought it off my cousin when I left the long-haul gig 2 years back. Too many nights sleeping with my legs cramped up, waking up with a sore neck, spending 14 hours chasing time zones. I thought local runs would be easier. They're not. They're just different. Anyway, I got to the warehouse on the edge of town around 10:15. The place looked half abandoned. One side had a working light. The other had broken windows covered in plywood. The loading dock was empty, and there wasn't a single sign or logo anywhere. I got out of the truck, walked toward the side entrance. There wasn't a bell, just a dented metal door and a black camera bubble above it. I knocked once, then again. Finally, the door creaked open. The guy who opened it looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Gray hoodie, cargo pants, beat-up sneakers. Pale. Didn't say a word, just motioned for me to wait. He disappeared into the shadows of the building and came back carrying a box. About the size of a microwave, but thinner. Light, but not empty. Brown cardboard, taped neatly, but no shipping labels. Just a sticky note with an address written in neat block letters. 413 Delaney Drive. No name, no phone. Just that. He handed it over without a word. I tried a little small talk. Hey, this for a business or a house? He just looked at me, didn't blink. I laughed awkwardly, tucked the box under my arm, and turned back to the truck. It should have been a red flag. Hell, it was a red flag. But when you're out here grinding 5, 6 jobs a day, sometimes weird is just part of the job. Weird doesn't pay less. So I slid the box onto the passenger seat and started the engine. Didn't even buckle it in. The funny thing is, I've been to a lot of warehouses. You get used to a certain kind of vibe. Fluorescent lights, forklift noise, someone yelling about pallets or sign-in sheets. Even if it's a sketchy place, there's still a hum of activity, radio playing in the back, maybe a vending machine buzzing in the corner. This place, dead silent. No sounds, no smells, no signs. After I tossed the box onto the passenger seat, I sat there for a second, engine running, wipers brushing slow across the glass. Something about it nagged me. Not fear exactly, just off. I remember glancing back at the door. It had already shut. No windows, no other cars in the lot, no company name, no employees only sign. Just that one guy, that one box, and now me. I pulled out slowly, checking my mirrors even though the lot was empty. Back on the road, I flipped the wipers up a notch and leaned into the steering wheel, squinting through the mist. Dispatch Now's app said it was a straight 27-minute drive to 413 Delaney Drive, residential, out near the edge of Tulsa, where the suburbs start to blur into farmland and old trailer parks. I figured, drop the box, maybe grab lunch. Move on, that's what I figured. The road got quieter as I drove, less traffic, trees closer to the shoulder, houses spaced out farther and farther, like they were trying to hide. I kept thinking about that guy, the one with the hoodie. Didn't say a word, not even a nod. Who does that? Even the rudest warehouse dudes usually grunt, at least. This guy was like furniture, alive but hollow. Halfway there, I tapped the box with my fingers at a red light. It didn't rattle. No weight shift, just solid. I thought, maybe electronics, something fragile. Still, why no label? Why no name? My gut tightened a bit, and I told myself I was overthinking it. It's just a weird job. Weird jobs happen. And the money was good. Like 3 regular gigs in one. Good. Still, something about the way that guy looked at me, like I wasn't even there, stuck in my mind. When I finally pulled into the driveway at 413 Delaney Drive, it didn't look like much. 1-story house, faded blue paint, curtains drawn on all windows, lawn half mowed like someone started and gave up. There was a sedan in the driveway, gray, older model, plates from Kansas. No barking dog, no kids, no sounds at all. I got out, grabbed the box, and walked up the 3 concrete steps to the front door. The porch creaked under my boots. I raised my hand to knock, but before I could, the door opened. A woman stood there, mid-50s maybe, short gray hair pulled back, glasses. She was wearing a long cardigan and jeans, like she'd been home all morning. But her eyes, they scanned me fast, sharp, like she expected someone else, or like she wasn't sure she should be opening the door at all. I said, "Delivery from dispatch now." She looked down at the box, then back at me. "You brought it yourself?" "Yeah," I said, confused. "That's, kind of the job." She hesitated for a second, then took the box with both hands. Her fingers brushed mine, cold, dry. No thank you, no signature request, just a small nod. Then she said, "You don't know what this is, do you?" I half laughed. "Lady, I just drive the truck." And then, without another word, she stepped back inside and shut the door. Not slammed, not rushed, just closed. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds, long enough for the porch to creak again as I shifted my weight. Then I turned, walked back to the truck, and drove away. Thinking, well, that was weird, but I didn't know the half of it. The drive back into town was quiet, too quiet. Usually I put the radio on right away. Keeps my brain from spiraling into useless thoughts. But that time, I didn't. I just drove. Maybe it was the way she asked, "You brought it yourself?" Or maybe the way she touched the box, like it mattered, like she knew what was inside and it wasn't good. You start to second guess yourself out here. You spend so many hours alone, your thoughts get louder. They bounce around the cab, settle into the silence like dust. I shook it off. Told myself I was being paranoid. Weird jobs happen all the time. People are weird. By the time I hit the freeway, the rain had let up. Just a mist on the windshield now. I rolled the window down an inch to let in some air and reached for the last of my coffee. Cold, bitter, but it worked. 15 minutes later, I was pulling into a gas station off Memorial Drive. I needed fuel, and I needed to pee. I remember standing there at the pump, watching numbers climb on the screen, and thinking, maybe I should have asked her more questions. But that's the thing. You don't ask, you just drop off and move on. Start asking questions, you spook people. They give you bad reviews, or worse, report you to the app. And when you're a contract driver, that app is your lifeline. So I fueled up, grabbed a sad little egg sandwich and a warm Gatorade from inside, and sat in the truck for a minute before taking the next job. I thought about texting my buddy, Stephen West, who also does deliveries, just to say, "Yo, weird gig today." But it felt like nothing worth bothering over. Besides, by the time the next order came in, a grocery run to a retirement home, I had already moved on. That's how it works. Weird job, weird vibe, then poof, it's behind you, or at least you think it is. That night, I told my wife about it. We were sitting on the couch, TV playing some crime doc we weren't really watching. She asked, "Good day?" I said, "Hey, made decent money." She gave me that look, the one that says you're being vague on purpose. So I told her, had this one delivery, kind of strange. Warehouse felt like a horror movie. Guy gave me a box, no words. Took it to some house way out in the suburbs. Woman acted like she expected something different. She asked, "You think it was something shady?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Probably nothing. Maybe stolen electronics or something." She looked at me for a second, serious. "You didn't open it, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "Of course not." "Good," she said. "Don't get involved in people's drama. Just take the money and keep driving." I laughed, kissed her forehead, and went to brush my teeth. And that was that. The box was delivered. The app marked the job complete. I got paid, moved on. Never even thought about it again. Until a week later, when the knock came. The next few days were what you'd call forgettable. I kept driving. Orders came in. Boxes got dropped off. My back complained like always. Same old rhythm. Wake up sore. Stretch in the driveway while the truck warms up. Fill up the thermos with bitter coffee. Check the app. Drive, drop, swipe, repeat. I took a batch of small jobs, some grocery delivery to an old folks' home, a flower arrangement to a funeral parlor, even one of those birthday balloon setups that barely fit in the back seat. The box? That box from the weird warehouse? It was gone from my head by the second morning. There's something about working this job. It keeps you moving. No time to dwell. No time to unpack anything except cargo. You just keep the wheels turning. On Wednesday, I ran into Stephen West at a gas station near 244. He was filling up his Sprinter van and cursing under his breath about a guy who tipped him in expired coupons. We laughed about it, like we always do. He said, "You get any weird ones this week?" And for a second, I thought of it. The box, the woman, that warehouse. But I just shook my head. Nah, just the usual. He offered me half of his cinnamon roll, and I took it. Then we went our separate ways. That's the thing about moments. You don't always realize they matter until they come back around and hit you in the gut. By Friday, the weather turned. Gray skies, wind picking up, leaves skittering across the road like they were running from something. I had 2 deliveries left that afternoon, one to a church office, paper supplies and bottled water. The other was a pickup from some thrift store near Peoria. Nothing stood out, no strange addresses, no weird clients, just business as usual. But I noticed something when I was driving home that night. A car. Same gray sedan I'd seen parked outside that house on Delaney Drive. It passed me near 71st, going the opposite direction. I wouldn't have noticed it, except for the dent above the rear wheel. Same spot, same shape. Coincidence? Sure. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself I saw it wrong. Told myself cars like that are everywhere. I turned up the radio and let Tom Petty carry me home. Didn't think about it again, at least not until they came to my door. It was Sunday morning. I remember that part real clear because I was in my slippers, still half asleep, and the dog next door hadn't even started barking yet. I was in the kitchen, pouring hot water over stale coffee grounds, when the knock came. 3 times. Steady, firm, not neighbor knock, not you forgot your wallet knock. This was different. I opened the door, thinking maybe it was a package or some church folks. Instead, 2 men, dark suits, clean shoes, no umbrellas even though the sky was still dripping. The taller one had sharp eyes and a face like he hadn't smiled since the 90s. The shorter one looked tired, like he'd been driving all night. The tall one said, "Raymond Ellis?" "Yeah," I said, pulling my robe closed a little tighter. "That's me." He held up a badge. FBI. I just froze. I swear to you, in that moment, my brain did this inventory. Did I pay taxes last year? Did I run a red light and someone died? Did that one order from 2 weeks ago have something illegal in it? I thought I was going to pass out right there on the porch. The tired-looking one, Thomas Shaw, I'd learned later, pulled out a small tablet and held it up. There was a photo on the screen. A woman, gray sweater, glasses, hair pulled back, the one from Delaney Drive. He asked, "Do you recognize her?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. It was written all over my face. That's when the taller one, Daniel Miller, nodded, almost like he was expecting it. "We need to talk," he said. "Can we come in?" "And what do you say to that?" "No thanks. Maybe next Sunday?" So I stepped aside and let two federal agents into my kitchen. We sat at the table. They didn't touch the coffee I offered. Thomas Shaw leaned on the counter with his arms crossed. Daniel Miller opened a slim black notebook and started asking questions. "When did you take the delivery? Where did you pick it up? Did you speak to the person who gave it to you? Did you open the package at any point?" I answered everything the best I could. Told them about the warehouse off Route 16, the guy in the hoodie, the house at the edge of town, the weird vibe. They didn't react much, just wrote things down, nodded, shared glances I wasn't supposed to notice. Then Daniel Miller said it. "That woman's gone. Gone. Like, disappeared. Or, worse." I asked, "Gone like missing? Or gone like... gone?" He didn't say it. He didn't have to. My stomach dropped. My palms went cold. I thought back to her voice. "You don't know what this is, do you?" Back then I laughed. Now, it made me sick. Thomas Shaw finally spoke. "That box you delivered, Raymond, it wasn't a normal package. It's part of an active federal investigation. We believe it may have contained sensitive data, possibly stolen." "From who?" I asked half-whisper. "Defense contractor," Shaw said. "That's all we can say." I felt the floor tilt a little beneath me. I'd carried a lot of things over the years. Auto parts, food, one time even a casket, but never something like this. Daniel Miller stood up and closed his notebook. "We're not accusing you of anything, but we may need to keep in touch." Are you watching me now?" I asked. Neither of them answered, which told me everything I needed to know. Then they left. Just like that. No handcuffs, no warning, no answers. Just a hole in my gut, and a question burning in the back of my head. What the hell did I deliver? The call came the next morning. Unknown number, no voicemail. Then again an hour later, same thing. I ignored it both times. Third time I picked up. "This is Special Agent Daniel Miller. We'd like you to come in for a formal statement." "No, good morning. No, how are you?" Just straight to it. I asked, "Am I under arrest?" "No," he said, "but if you don't cooperate, that could change." I didn't say anything, just wrote down the address. Some government building downtown I'd passed 100 times and never noticed. I told my wife it was something about a traffic report. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push. The room they put me in wasn't an interrogation room like on TV. No two-way mirror, no buzzing light, just a gray table, 3 chairs, and a pitcher of water that looked like no one had touched it in a week. Daniel Miller came in with Thomas Shaw trailing behind. Same tired eyes, same expressionless face. Miller sat. Shaw leaned against the wall. "Let's go through it again," Miller said, flipping open his notepad. "I already told you everything," I said. "Tell it again." So I did. Warehouse, hoodie guy, weird box, Delaney Drive, the woman. Same story, word for word. But this time they stopped me at parts, pressed on things. "Did the man at the warehouse say anything at all? Are you sure it was only one box? Did you see anyone else at the delivery location?" I answered as best I could, but my head was spinning. Then Shaw stepped in. "Raymond, the woman, her name was Margaret Delaney." I nodded slowly. "She used to work for a defense contractor out of Wichita, retired 3 years ago, went off the grid a bit, quiet life, but recently, she came back onto our radar." Miller added, "We believe she was passing on information, sensitive, possibly classified." My throat dried up. "What does that have to do with me?" "You were the mule," Shaw said bluntly. "The go-between, probably without knowing it. But still, you made the handoff." I leaned back in the chair, heart pounding. "I didn't ask for that job. It came through the app." "We checked," Miller said. "It's been wiped. No record of that job exists in DispatchNow's system. Payment was routed through a third-party processing firm registered in Nevada. Fake business name, no trace." I stared at the table. Everything felt unreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's mess and couldn't find the exit. You think I'm involved? I asked. Shaw shook his head. We don't know what to think yet. They let me go after an hour. Didn't take my phone, didn't give me a lawyer, just told me not to leave town. When I stepped outside, the sun hurt my eyes. The air felt heavier, like the whole city knew something I didn't. I sat in my truck for a while before driving home, hands gripping the steering wheel like it might float away if I let go. I replayed everything, every second of that delivery, every look, every silence. I tried to remember license plates, street names, how the woman held the box. None of it added up. Except for one thing, they were right. I had been the middleman, and I didn't even see it coming. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling like it might blink first. The sound of the ceiling fan, the low hum from the fridge. Everything felt too loud. I kept replaying it. The photo, the words. She's gone. And me, sitting there like a damn fool, thinking it was just another delivery. By morning, my chest felt tight, not from fear exactly, more like pressure, like something was inside me, building steam, and I didn't know how to let it out. I sat on the porch with my coffee. The mug trembled in my hand, just a little. My wife came out, still in her robe. She asked if I was okay. I said, yeah. She didn't believe me. Didn't ask again, though. That's marriage, I guess. Sometimes you know better than to poke the bruise. I waited till she left for work, and then I pulled out my phone. I opened the Dispatch Now app, went into my trip history, scrolled through the week before. Tuesday at grocery run, Wednesday, tires to a mechanic, Thursday, nothing. No record of the warehouse, no record of the job, gone. Just a hole where that box should have been. I thought maybe it was a glitch, so I checked my payment history. Usually after each job, there's a line. Location, ID, time, payout. That day, the payout was there. A weird number, not round, not normal. No job ID, no notes, just direct credit. My throat tightened. That warehouse, that box, it hadn't been real, at least not in the system. That's when I remembered something. The sticker, the address on the box, the handwriting. It was printed in perfect block letters, not typed, not stamped, written. Nobody does that anymore. And the guy in the hoodie, he didn't scan anything. No confirmation code, no name. He just handed me the box like he was glad to be rid of it. And I took it, no questions. Hell, I even joked. I should have known better. I stared at the wall for a while, then grabbed my keys, fired up the truck, and drove. Back to Route 16, back to the place where it all started. The warehouse was still there, but it looked different now, abandoned, completely. The front door was chained shut. A big no trespassing sign hung crooked from the handle. Windows were boarded, the lot was empty, no tire tracks, no dumpsters, no life. It looked like it hadn't been used in months. I sat in the truck, engine idling, heart racing. Something was wrong, very wrong. I got out, walked around the side. There was a camera above the old entrance, same black dome as before. I stood under it for a while, staring at it, wondering if someone, somewhere, was still watching. That's when I noticed it. Spray paint, on the back wall, not fresh, faded, but 3 letters stood out, NOS. No idea what it meant, but it wasn't there the first time. At least, I didn't see it. Maybe it had been. Maybe I missed it. I stepped back, looked at the whole building. It was like the memory I had was off, blurry, uncertain. Had the building always been this empty? Had the guy in the hoodie even locked the door behind me? My stomach churned. This wasn't just a delivery, it was something else. I just couldn't figure out what yet. I didn't go out the next day, didn't open the app, didn't touch the truck, just stayed home, mostly pacing. I tried to act normal, tried to clean up the garage, fix the damn screen door like I'd been meaning to, but my hands wouldn't stay still. Every time I looked at my phone, I felt like it was watching me back. That warehouse, the wiped order, the spray-painted letters, none of it made sense. But something had shifted, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't just remembering things wrong, I was being made to forget. It was just after 10 that night when the phone rang. Not my cell, the landline. We still have one, mostly for junk calls and my wife's mother, who doesn't trust smartphones. But this wasn't her. No caller ID. Just silence. Then a low male voice. Raymond Ellis? My chest went tight. Speaking? A pause. Then, don't talk to anyone else. Don't answer questions you weren't asked. Don't go looking where you don't belong. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. He continued, same calm tone. This isn't about you, but you're in it now. So sit still and stay quiet. Click. Deadline. I stood there with the receiver in my hand, listening to nothing. The silence was heavier than the voice. I stared at the wall, the pictures on the fridge, the magnet from our anniversary trip to Amarillo. I didn't know what scared me more, that someone was watching me, or that someone knew I was thinking about doing more than just watching back. I didn't tell my wife. I wanted to. But what do you say? Hey, honey, someone called and told me I'm tangled up in a federal leak and I should keep my mouth shut. Yeah, no. She already thought I was on edge. No need to fan that fire. Instead, I grabbed a beer, sat in the garage with the light off, and just stared at the street. 2 cars passed between midnight and 1. I watched both of them until they were out of sight. In the morning, I made a decision. Might have been stupid, might have been instinct, but I had to talk to someone. Not the cops, not the agents, not my wife, someone who'd listen without making it worse. So I called James Mathis. James and I went to school together. He used to be a loudmouth with a skateboard and a death wish. Now he runs a podcast and writes local news stuff for the Tulsa Journal. Crime stories mostly. The guy knows how to dig without making noise. I hadn't seen him in a couple years, but I still had his number. He picked up on the second ring. Ray? Wow, that's unexpected. Hey, James, you got a minute? His tone shifted quick. Yeah, what's going on? I told him parts of it. Enough to raise his eyebrows, but not enough to bury me. Warehouse, vanished delivery, feds at the door, a missing woman named Margaret Delaney. He listened, quiet, taking notes probably. When I finished, he said, give me 2 days. 2 days for what? To see what I can find. And Ray, stay reachable. But don't call me again. I'll come to you. Then he hung up. And just like that, the story wasn't mine anymore. It was moving, with or without me. James Mathis showed up 2 days later. No text, no warning. Just his old beater of a Jeep pulling into my driveway at sunset. He stepped out with a backpack, a coffee, and a face that told me this wasn't going to be light conversation. Didn't bother with hellos, just nodded toward the garage. We went in, closed the door, and sat on a pair of folding chairs like it was a war room. He reached into his bag, pulled out a folder, and dropped it on the workbench between us. I didn't touch it. He said, you were right. Something's off. Way off. First page was a printout, a photo of Margaret Delaney, same woman from the delivery, but younger, government ID style. She worked for a private defense firm called Oryx Systems, one of those companies nobody talks about, but they rake in billions writing code for drones and surveillance platforms. James tapped the corner of the page. Margaret specialized in architecture-level encryption. She helped design a comm system for field operatives. Near unbreakable, allegedly. I said, okay, but she retired, right? James nodded slowly. Officially, yeah. Unofficially, she stayed in the loop, consulted for 3 years, then vanished, quietly. Next document was messier. Internal email chains, parts redacted, a whistleblower thread posted anonymously 2 weeks ago. Some tech forum no one visits unless they're paranoid or paid to be. One message stood out, short, cryptic, timestamped 2 days before I made that delivery. Package ready, transfer clean, no tags. Old address, no paper trail. Driver confirmed, unaware. I blinked. Driver confirmed, I repeated. James didn't say anything, just looked at me. That was me. I was the unaware. There was more. Surveillance grabs from a traffic cam, my truck, turning onto Delaney Drive. Timestamps matched the app's window. One image had the woman at her door, holding the box. James said, I found this on a private security firm's backup server. They're government adjacent. Probably didn't even know it was still stored. I sat back. My throat was dry again. All that time I thought I was just a guy with a package. But the truth was, I was part of the delivery system, built into it. Last page in the folder, a partial incident report, filed by someone in the Bureau of Technical Integrity, whatever the hell that is, said the package was believed to contain a hardware cipher node, basically a black box for encrypted data. Standalone, untraceable, air-gapped. James translated it in plain English. It's like a flash drive, but built for ghosts. Once data goes in, nobody can get it out without the right key. And the key, it's usually not digital. It's a person like Margaret Delaney, which meant whatever was inside that box died with her. James leaned forward. They didn't want the package. They wanted who received it. I whispered, and I delivered it. He nodded once, then added, and whoever set it all up wanted it to disappear. Box, recipient, chain of custody. I looked down. I was the chain. My voice cracked. James didn't say anything after that. He packed the folder up, stood, and looked me in the eye. You need to decide something, Ray. You want to tell someone, or you want to stay breathing? Then he left. Didn't shake my hand, didn't look back. Just the sound of his Jeep disappearing into the night, leaving me alone with the truth I never asked to carry. After James Mathis left, I sat in that garage for what felt like hours. Didn't move, didn't blink, just sat. The air smelled like oil and damp cardboard, the same pile of tools I never organized, the rusted out cooler I hadn't touched since last summer. All of it felt smaller, like the walls were leaning in. I kept thinking, what if I'd said no to that job? What if I'd skipped it? Declined the offer, shut off the app, anything. But I didn't. And now I was in it, whether I wanted to be or not. I tried to live normal after that, tried to keep things steady, did some short runs, nothing big, grocery stuff, water jugs, furniture for a college kid moving into his first apartment. But I felt it, that weight, every car that tailed me too long, every unknown number that rang once and hung up. Even the silence felt loud. At night, I caught myself listening for footsteps outside. We live in a quiet neighborhood, but suddenly every creak, every passing engine felt personal, like someone was still watching, like I was being measured for something I didn't ask to wear. I talked less. My wife noticed, of course, asked a few times if everything was okay. I'd smile, nod, say something like, just tired, or long week. But I think she knew. She never pressed, but she started locking the doors earlier, started keeping her phone charged at night, started watching me a little longer when I left in the morning. Then one afternoon, about a week later, I got in the truck and noticed something. The dash cam, one I'd bought myself off Amazon 2 years ago, it was off. I never turn it off. And the plug, still connected. I pressed the power button. Nothing. It was fried, not unplugged, not glitched, fried. Just a little blinking red dot in the corner that wouldn't stop. I sat there for a long time with the engine running, just staring at that light. I made a decision that night. Stopped taking work from dispatch now. Deleted the app, wiped the cache. Factory reset the phone. Sold the dash cam at a pawn shop for $20 and didn't ask questions when the guy raised an eyebrow. A week later, I took a part-time gig hauling supplies for a local landscaping company. Old school stuff. No apps, no tracking, no scanners, just paper logs and a handshake. It paid less, but it let me sleep. Well, mostly. There are nights I still wake up around 3 a.m. For no reason, no sound, no dream, just alert, like something's watching or remembering, and I lie there thinking about that box. What was in it? Why it had to disappear? Why she had to disappear? I think about Margaret Delaney sometimes, her voice, her question. You don't know what this is, do you? No, I didn't, but now I think I do. It wasn't just about the contents or the tech or whatever she had locked inside that casing. It was about trust. Someone out there trusted me, a stranger with a bad back in a pickup truck, to move something that couldn't be moved any other way. Maybe because I looked harmless. Maybe because I was harmless. But that's what made me perfect. And I'll never know if I was helping the good guys or burying someone else's truth. That's the part that sticks. That's the part that doesn't wash off. It's been 3 months. Feels like longer. Feels like I aged 10 years just from carrying that box. I still do local work now and then. Keep the lights on. Pay the mortgage. Mostly quiet routes. Repeat customers. No surprises. No more apps. No more unmarked warehouses. The Ford's still hanging in there. Couple more rattles than before. Like it knows something's changed too. And me? I've learned to live with the silence. Kind of. I don't talk about it. Not to my wife. Not to Stephen West. Not even to James Mattis. Though he left a voicemail last week saying, if I were you, I'd forget everything. I didn't call back, but I still think about it. Sometimes when I'm driving past that stretch of Route 16. Sometimes when I hear the porch creak at night and nobody's there. Sometimes when I see a sedan that looks a little too familiar in the rearview mirror. It's like it never fully ended. Like the delivery's still in motion, just slower now. Last week I was cleaning out the truck. Hadn't done it in a while. You know how it gets. Receipts, fast food bags, a glove that somehow lost its mate. I was pulling stuff out from under the passenger seat when I found it. A slip of paper, folded twice, yellowed like it had been there a while. Not mine, not my handwriting. On it, just a series of numbers, 12 digits, no label, no date, looked like a code, or maybe a tracking number, or maybe nothing. But my hands shook when I held it, because I knew it wasn't there by accident. I stood there for a long time holding that paper. Then I went inside, lit a match, and dropped it in the sink. Watched it curl into black. Didn't take a photo, didn't write it down, didn't tell anyone. Because I don't want a sequel to this story. People always think danger is loud. Guns, sirens, screaming. But sometimes it's quiet. It's a box in the passenger seat that you don't ask questions about. And by the time you realize how deep it goes, you're already driving. So now when someone asks me why I left the apps, why I stick to paper logs and handshake jobs, I just say, one time I delivered something I wasn't supposed to, then I smile. And I made it home. That's all they need to know. That's all I need to remember. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing on the road isn't in your rearview mirror, it's in the back seat, and you never even know it.